Hello, this is an overview video of the movement system for Skystrider. I'm going to play through the opening tutorial here and talk about a little bit of what's going on under the hood and why we settled on what we did. So the game opens up, you are in a destroyed world, and the first thing the player learns how to do is move forward and jump. The first thing that they're going to notice immediately is that they're pretty quick, all things considered. Jumping and moving around is super fast and responsive. And this initial jump here, these initial 3 jumps, are really just to get the player used to the type of platforming they're going to have to be doing. There are a lot of boundaries here put in place because of places that we noticed people were falling off of in these beginning sections. So falling off here is uncommon at this point, but the challenge is important to just getting used to this movement. And then we are introduced to another small jump here and a ledge. This is our second movement mechanic, our second simple movement mechanic, the slide. This is in various parts of the game where you'll have to slide back and forth, avoiding obstacles. And it's all done mostly automatically. If there's an incline we want the player to slide on, or if there's a trap and they have to quickly get away from something, the player will start sliding. We opted to not do a button input for that specific movement, mainly because we want it to be a cinematic thing and also something to change up the gameplay, a new movement type that the player will have to work around. Moving on, we are introduced to the boosting mechanic. This is our main mechanic for the game. This boost is at the heart of most of our level design. We're prompted to boost through this hole, and once we do, we now have a new challenge to jump and boost in the air through another hole. The boost is controlled by where the player is looking, so the reticle is an important thing to keep the player grounded and also to have something to look at while you're aiming. So we boost through this hole, we boost through another one, and these keyhole moments for the boost we decided to keep in the tutorial and at the beginning of the game, but move away from as the player starts to get more used to this mechanic. I'm just going to mute it here because it's quite loud on my end. So now we have a little bit more precise platforming where the player can incorporate the boost if they wish. And here we have this keyhole idea again. So this jump would not be possible unless the player decided to boost. And our main mechanic for long distance quick traversal, we have the wall run. The wall run is simple, but it's used frequently and it acts as a good challenging movement mechanic to start really testing the player. So coming up here, we're now going to start incorporating everything. So we have the slide from a boost into a wall run. That wall run could be made without a boost as well. And again, we have a wall run, but a boost onto the wall run indicated by our little character here, and then a boost off of the wall run. And those types of movements that we're stringing together here are critical when playing the game. So another wall run, boost out of the wall run to really start to get speed. And here we have a slide to a keyhole boost again. And to our final main mechanic for the character besides the combat, and that is this claw mechanic. So when something is interactable with our claw, it will start to have this homing icon on it. The player can interact with these objects, and in this case, the interaction type we have is actually a movement interaction where we can control this floating piece of bismuth and push it into its keyhole here. This bridge will start to build, and this signifies our revival as the player. So after being introduced to the main movement mechanics and experiencing some of the actual gameplay, we're introduced to the combat system. Combat in Skystrider is supposed to be quick, fluid, but also pretty dynamic and deep. So here we're introduced to our light attack. Our light attack string is just a simple, quick flurry of attacks. And once that enemy is defeated, we can proceed. And here we're introduced to another mechanic using our claw. So our claw can interact with crystals, but it can also interact with other objects. And again, how we distinguish interactables and non-interactables is by this homing icon. So for this enemy, we can actually steal his shield. And once the shield is stolen, we can use our heavy attack button to initiate a weapon attack. After this enemy is defeated, the player is frozen, and they're taught the next equipable attack option. And this is throwing your equipped weapon. So holding down E or our aim button, the player is able to aim, we zoom in, and we're ready to throw this weapon at this enemy. There are other weapons you can throw that have different effects, such as bombs, or in the case of level 1's boss, their fingers, which will do explosive damage and the like. So we throw this weapon, and we'll spawn an extra one just in case if the player wants to try it again. We proceed. So now that we've learned the heavy attack through the equip attack section, we're going to try out our heavy attacks on a dummy. So this attack combo is noticeably slower, but it can also be chained with light attacks to change up our fighting style. And when the player actually jumps in the air, they can do a heavy slam attack, which will stun enemies. All enemies will have a chance of dropping a health crystal, which I just picked up, and that will heal you. And for here, we have a pole that you can actually spin on. You can swing around this pole and do damage. And there are different things in the environment that the player can interact with as well. And here we have the grapple to enemy mechanic. So you've seen us pulling off a shield, and now we can actually grab onto an enemy and do an attack. And finally, to incorporate our movement into the combat system just a little bit more, we have the overcharge ability, and this is our final movement option as well as our final attack. Once the player has gotten fast enough, they're able to do a big attack and deal a ton of damage. So thank you for watching the Skystrider breakdown video for our character. And if you have any questions, please contact me or visit my portfolio. Thank you.